All right. Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Mom Project's Masterclass, Work-Life Flexibility for Military Moms and Parents. My name is Becky Eastburn, and I am a program coordinator with RISE. And I am so excited to moderate today's discussion with founder and CEO of Spousely, Monica Fullerton. So after marrying her high school sweetheart turned Air Force hubby, Monica Fullerton quickly learned that the military community was ripe with creators and makers and entrepreneurs. And many of her fellow spouses pursued their passions between deployments and even with full-time businesses. Still, there wasn't exactly a central location to shop and support these well-deserving entrepreneurs within the military community. And therefore, Monica launched Spousely. She is a twin mom on a mission to provide more career flexibility and stability no matter where military life takes you. And Monica firmly believes that anything is possible if you just put your mind to it. So now in today's session, you're going to discover practical tips, steps, and advice on securing flexible career opportunities, all while balancing motherhood for military moms and parents. But before we get started, we do have just a couple of housekeeping notes. The first one is that today's session will be recorded and then shared out with anyone that registered. And then number two, we are going to have some time for audience questions at the end. So as we're going through the presentation, please leave your thoughtful questions and comments in the chat box, and we will get to them after the presentation. So now, Monica, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Becky. I'm so excited to be here today. Hello, everyone. Thanks for popping in on a Friday. I'm excited to get started. So let's go ahead and dive in. So we're going to be talking about work-life flexibility for military moms and parents today. So I first want to start out giving you guys a little bit of background about myself, who I am, a little bit about my journey, and where I have ended up today because of everything that has kind of fallen into place. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm Monica Fullerton. I am the founder and CEO of Spousely. I am also a proud Air Force spouse, a twin mom. I have a bachelor's degree in multimedia journalism and communications, as well as a master's in business specializing in marketing. I am proof that you can have a high earning remote job and you can do something that provides flexibility and stability. So I want to share with you a little bit of background on myself and just kind of what has led me to the path of entrepreneurship. So I am born and raised in Ohio, a small town, and I moved to South Florida with these big dreams of being a host on TV. And I remember just going to school and just being so excited. I was thriving. I had so many great opportunities that would allow me to possibly have the career of my dreams. But sure enough, love always finds a way to get in there. And I ended up getting back together with my high school sweetheart, who was soon to be commissioning into the Air Force. And I remember at that time thinking, oh my goodness, what am I doing? I am about to possibly start living this military life. And for those of you who are not familiar with the military life, that usually consists of moving around every 2 to 3 years. The military spouse unemployment rate has been at 24% for nearly a decade. And it's because it's hard to find a career that can move around with our lifestyle. So here I am, faced with this huge decision, and I decided to go for it. So we got stationed at our first location in San Antonio, Texas. And I remember feeling so lost. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to pursue communications when I know that's an industry that you really need to probably be in one location to build your career and to be able to advance and all of that good stuff. So I remember just thinking, how am I going to make it work? And I just started applying to different jobs. Finally, I went into a few different interviews. I remember going into one interview, it was for logistics. And I remember thinking, what is logistics? I don't understand. I don't really know what that means. But I immediately loved the company. I love their environment, their culture, it was just so warm and welcoming that I just remember thinking, I want to be a part of this company. I will learn what logistics is and I will find a way to make it work because I just love that piece of it. So fast forward, I ended up staying with that company for almost a decade. They were amazing. I was one of the only employees working full-time remote and traveling and doing all these awesome things. And that is because they valued me as a person, my work ethic, and everything. So I was really, really grateful to have that opportunity. But the passion was missing. And we'll get into all of this in more detail. But I just kind of wanted you to see where my journey has led me. And so I decided to go all in on entrepreneurship in hopes of helping others find their passion and do what they truly love. So I founded Spousely, which is an online marketplace to shop a wide variety of both products and services, all created by military and first responder families. So if we have any military families joining us today, please pop in the chat and the comments. Like, we would love to know if you're a military family. And I personally would love to see if there's any way that I can help you out or be a part of your journey. So let's go ahead and dive in on what we're covering today. Today, we're going to be talking about pivoting tips and insights. We're going to move into resources and programs. And then my personal favorite, flexibility and stability. Can I say that a little louder? Flexibility and stability, right? That's what we're all looking for, especially as a mom, as a parent, as a, founder or whoever, whatever we're doing, wherever life has taken us. We are looking for flexibility and stability. And in that picture, that is the twins and my amazing husband, just so you can kind of see a little bit of my family. And my husband is active duty Air Force, and our amazing twins were actually born in Vegas, which I never thought in a million years I would say I had twins, first of all, and that my kids were born in Vegas, right? Gotta love military life. All right, let's start diving in. So first, the pivoting tips and insights. I would love to just kind of first propose a couple questions that if you could write these down, I highly encourage it, or just kind of think them through. Listen to me say them and listen to how we can actually translate it from something that's being said into something that can be done. So whether you're looking for a career, whether you're considering entrepreneurship, or you're trying to get back into the work environment, always make a list of your strengths and weaknesses. I know that sounds so easy, and it's kind of one of those things that, why should I be doing this? I don't really know where that's going to get me. But trust me, it is going to take you so much further than you think when you can sit down with yourself and go over your strengths and weaknesses. If you have a degree, maybe it's piggybacking off of something that you've loved learning in your studies. Maybe it's something that you've built skill sets up from your previous career or your current career. Go over them, whether it's your own personal strengths at home or in the work environment, and your weaknesses at home and in the work environment. Then ask yourself, what does your dream job look like? I know that sounds, we're all living in a fantasy world sometimes on that question, but it is so, so important. If there's anything I want you to take away from today, is to be a better advocate for yourself. And that really means understanding who you are, what you bring to the table, as well as how you can make it align with your next career move. So ask yourself, what does your dream job look like? For me, my dream job was to be the next Oprah. And I know that sounds completely crazy, but at the end of the day, I was so inspired by the power of communication and how she was always able to bring everyone together to share their stories and to help empower one another. So ask yourself that question, write it down, take a mental note. And if you had to pivot in your career, why? Why did you pivot? Maybe you were like me, where you ended up in a career field that you had no idea what it was or what it meant, but it was great. Maybe you want to get back into something that you're truly passionate about. There's all different pivoting that goes on. We all have it. Just know you are not alone. We have all had to make pivots in our careers. And if you haven't, you are one of the very lucky ones who has found exactly where you were supposed to be the first time. And kudos for you for doing that, because it's never easy. So if you had to pivot in your career, why? Ask yourself these questions. What does your availability look like? I think this is so important. Oftentimes we kind of put this box around ourselves and we aren't really doing it for our own benefit. Maybe we're seeing jobs that are all full time, and in reality, those are going to be a struggle to make work. So ask yourself, what does your sorry, tongue twisting, availability look like? So for me, I personally knew I needed something that was remote, something that was full time, but something that also allowed me to be there with my family when they need me most. Next, are there any outside factors that you have to consider? Maybe your spouse deploys, maybe your kids are a part of a bunch of activities. Think about what you have in your daily routine in your life that might be a factor in your availability. And make sure you put that down and don't try to, sugarcoat it. Don't try to make yourself look maybe more available than you actually are. This is all about the process of understanding who you are, what your skills are, and what you can bring to the table. Do you prefer remote work or in office? We all have different ideas of what that needs to look like. Some people thrive and love being out of the house, while others want that remote opportunity. And then lastly, this is a very important piece. How do you measure success? We all measure success differently. For some of us, success looks like being a mom and having a part-time job. Sometimes it looks like starting our own business and then also still having the stability from a full-time job. Or maybe we're still trying to decide what it is that actually works in our lifestyle. So ask yourself, how do you measure success? And that goes back to your dream job. What does that look like? Let's go ahead and move forward. All right, so the dreaded 3-letter word. I know we are all probably thinking it. We've all probably experienced it, or maybe you know someone who has gone through it. The gap in your resume. Can I get in the comments just oh my goodness, or the gap, or anything, some kind of hype around it, because we are all feeling this word. And it's something that is always so hard to navigate around, especially if you are a parent who took time off to be with your children and now you're trying to get back into the work environment. Well, let's try to take that 3-letter word and turn it into an opportunity. For way too long, the gap has always been a negative. It's always, had this negative vibe for us personally and with companies. So let's turn the gap into an opportunity. So how are we going to do that? Well, first of all, I want you to start considering yourself in the driver's seat of this journey, whether you're looking for a job, whether you're starting a business, whether you're thinking about maybe switching careers. Put yourself in the driver's seat, not the back seat. Way too often we get very, in our own heads, and it's hard to see that we actually are in the driver's seat of our journey. So get creative. I am a big, big believer of making a video that you can include when you're applying. I recently spoke on a panel for Hiring Our Heroes, and that was something that I was asked. It was, how can you help military spouses have a resume that stands out? Because as we know, if you are a military family, sometimes our resumes just, aren't as shiny as we want them to be. And in reality, it doesn't really do us justice sometimes, especially with the lifestyle. So make a video talking about yourself, all of your work, your experience, your education, whatever it might be, and talk about the gap. Say, hi, I am so-and-so. I took off a year to be with my children, my husband, my wife, my spouse, whoever was deployed. It was very important that I was there for my family. And this is why you might see a gap in my resume. It doesn't have to be anything long, but make a video. Next, do your research on the company that you're interested in. Remember, you're in the driver's seat. Oftentimes we're just applying and applying and applying, and it's such a daunting process. Do your research and make sure that these companies align with everything that you believe and everything that you stand for. How do they help their employees? What does the flexibility look like? What does the remote work possibly look like? Make sure you understand what is going on, that you can be able to, bridge that gap with your own life and what goes on in that company. LinkedIn. I am a big, big believer in LinkedIn. If you are not active on LinkedIn, or maybe you haven't really used it to its full advantage, I highly encourage you to do so. Update your LinkedIn. And the best part about LinkedIn now is they have an area talking about the gap. So you can actually include why you might have a gap in your resume, which I think is amazing. And lastly, remember, you are amazing and find the best way to shine. So once again, take that gap and let's turn it into an opportunity. All right, next. So, ways to stand out, like I mentioned, engage on LinkedIn. So, what does that look like? Engaging on LinkedIn isn't just, posting on there when you are needing something or asking for help. Really start to surround yourself with the people that you're inspired by. Maybe it's companies that you might possibly want to be a part of, or people who just encourage you and become your support system. So, share on a weekly basis, maybe a post. Talk about your experience, maybe what you're looking for, and also search companies on LinkedIn as well. Next, turn your resume into a website. You can do a free website, and honestly, it's amazing because it allows you once again to share more about who you are, what you bring to the table, and ways that this company can connect with you. So I highly recommend building out a free website, sharing more about yourself, your experiences, displaying any maybe of your past work, or any different examples that you might have. And once again, create a short video. So let's dive a little bit more into this video, because some of us are maybe not confident when it comes to being on camera, or maybe creating a video seems like way out of your wheelhouse of your comfort level. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just make sure you have a nice, clean background, you're dressed professionally, and just make it short and sweet. It doesn't have to be going over all of your resume. It can be just something that piggybacks off of your resume. Think of it kind of like a cover letter, but now a video. And in this video, you can talk about maybe the gap or things that you've been really wanting to do that you haven't had that opportunity to explore. And my favorite is start your own company, whether you're doing it full time or part time. If you have a talent or you have a passion for something, or you've always considered starting your own company, you'll be able to do what you love and work it into your lifestyle. All right, next. Okay. Resources and programs. So these are going to be a little bit more catered towards the military spouse, military family entrepreneur, as well as different companies that can help in the career space as well. So let's take a look at a few that I have included. So I think of careers as a puzzle. I think there's always going to be a piece that fits. Sometimes it takes a while to figure out what that might be, and sometimes we have to pivot. But there is always going to be a puzzle piece that fits into the mix. So the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is ask for help. I know asking for help can be so, so hard, whether you are starting a new job, and you just want more advice on it, or starting a business, or looking for a job. Ask for help. Get more confident in asking. When I first launched Spousely, which Spousely is only 2 years old, is asking for help. I remember the whole first year in business, I really didn't ask for help. I was nervous to ask. I didn't want it to make me seem like a weak leader. And I wasn't quite sure what the right questions were to ask, to be honest. But just make a list, maybe, write them down, asking for help, questions that maybe you would want to get outside advice and resources from. So a few of the resources that I included that I personally just absolutely love are ACP, AMC, Spousely, of course, the Mom Project, Entreprenista, NASDAQ, Hiring Our Heroes, Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce, and Bunker Labs. So a few of these, like I said, are catered towards helping military entrepreneurs or getting into the career field and things like that. One of my favorite things about the Mom Project, which is why, of course, I had to include them on this resource, is you're able to search exactly what you're looking for. And I think that is so key when you're looking for a job, or an opportunity is to really be able to dial into what you are looking for. So, as we all know, there's a ton of great tools and resources out there. Just start asking for help. LinkedIn is a great way to also, maybe if you're not quite sure, ask on LinkedIn. Say, hey, I'm looking for a job that's in this career field. People will gladly help connect you and put you where you need to be. Also, mentors are a great resource. If you do not have a mentor, or maybe you've been thinking about one, I highly encourage a mentor. Finding someone that has been there, done that, somebody that you look up to, or is maybe on the same career path as you, because they'll be able to help you out and help guide you, even if it's just once a month. And lastly, explore entrepreneurship. Like I said, maybe it's something you can start doing on the side. And obviously, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. And I know it also comes with its own challenges and ups and downs. But at the end of the day, it allows you to kind of, move around that puzzle exactly how you want it. All right, next. So, tips on asking for help, because, like I said, asking for help is not easy. I personally struggle with this. I know there's many other people out there, but it's one of those things where it almost feels like, am I the only one that has that problem asking for help? So, how can you do it more effectively? You can reach out to your community. If you feel like maybe you're not surrounded by the right people, or maybe you don't have the right support system, reach out to others on social settings in with the Mom Project. Different companies will be willing to connect you to a community that can also support you. That has been huge for me on my own personal journey of the transition from a corporate career into entrepreneurship, is surrounding myself with like-minded people. I always say it is so good to be in a room full of people who are smarter than you, because you can never stop learning. Next, leverage your network. I often hear this many times from fellow military spouses. They feel like they don't really have a network of people. And I always think about that, because I know what it's like. It can be hard, if you haven't had to really build a network or have a presence when it comes to a career. But there are always going to be somebody or someone who knows of someone they can connect you to. So, for example, I often have many military spouses reaching out to me saying, they would like to get involved in this one area, but they don't know where to start, or they're looking for someone to help them in this specific career field. So then I'm going to leverage my network to introduce them. And then from there, it's just a really nice support system that can take place. Next, use the ask and give approach. I believe that the ask and give approach will help take you so much further than just always personally asking for yourself. Because at the end of the day, when you are giving to others and you're helping others on their journey, it'll actually come full circle for you, and you'll be able to build that confidence and that support maybe that you were needing. And lastly, don't worry about what others think. I think that is one of the most important pieces of this journey. Like I said, whether you're getting into a career, starting a business, or maybe thinking of going into a different career, oftentimes we always have this feeling that overcomes us of, well, what is that person going to think if I do this? Or what is this going to translate to in my own personal journey? Don't worry about that. First of all, it's about you. It's about what works for you and your family, and you have to go with your gut on that. All right, next. Flexibility and stability. We made it to my favorite area, and I absolutely love talking about this. I always speak about this with everything that I do in terms of Spousely, and it is to help find that flexibility and stability that is so needed, especially if you live a life on the go like our military families. So it's very important to know your commitment. I think, as I mentioned early on in the presentation, know what you're able to do. I think oftentimes we push ourselves too far, and then we hit a breaking point, which kind of makes us land in a place where uncertainty happens. We don't really know maybe what we're great at or what our next move is. So when you boil it down, you ask yourself all these important questions, and you know your commitment and everything that makes you happy. There's so much that will continue to unfold with that. So I am a big believer in doing what you love. And I know that's easier said than done, But like I said, if I can leave you with one takeaway on this presentation, it is to put you back into the driver's seat. Just know you are going to be able to make it happen if you're willing to do it. Next, the work-life balance. Oh man, I wish there was a secret sauce to this, and I wish I had a secret to share with you on the work-life balance. That looks different for all of us, whether we have children, or maybe, like I said, you're living a military life and you have children. There's so many factors that we all go through, which makes it really hard. But it goes back hand in hand with knowing your commitment. So my one key takeaway, and what has worked really well for my own personal work-life balance, was having to face the unknown and the uncertainty. And it was scary. When I left my stability from my corporate career, knowing that I had amazing remote work, I was making a great salary, but the passion was missing. So I knew something had to give, because I was at my breaking point. I was working around the clock in a corporate career, growing a company, being a mom, being a good wife. It was so hard. And I knew I needed to find that balance. For me, I live by this quote, and I want to share it with you because I think it's super important. Growth begins when comfort ends. I'm going to repeat that again because it's so important. It's so good to hear and to really get it to sink into your brain. Growth begins when comfort ends. I am pretty much living and breathing that quote right now as I'm growing a company from the ground up. I'm doing things that I never have ever thought that I would be doing. I'm doing scary things. I'm challenging myself. But at the end of the day, it all goes hand in hand with putting yourself in the driver's seat. Believe in yourself, set expectations, and know your commitment. And that will help you unfold the true flexibility and stability. All right, next. All right, so this one is my favorite. Passion. Let's talk about passion. I feel like that is so, so important. It is way too often that sometimes we settle for less, or maybe we don't really know exactly what our true passion is because we're still trying to find it because we've never maybe experienced it in our career. Passion is so important. And like I said, on my own personal journey, I reached my breaking point because the passion was missing. I just wasn't able to be exactly who I knew I wanted to be and what I could offer out there into the world. So ask yourself, can you start your own business doing what you love? Or maybe you can find a job that excites you. This goes back to everything we talked about earlier about really dialing in on what exactly your skills are, what your experience is, and what you are looking to get out of it. When you can bridge that gap all together and make that diagram of what that exact job or next opportunity looks like, trust me, it is going to be the best exciting thing when you have found that passion in what you're doing. I personally can say I have finally found my passion. I have seen everything continue to come full circle. Now that I am growing this company from the ground up, I'm not only helping my personal passion, I am helping hundreds, thousands, and hopefully soon millions of others in our community see that they can do what they love while living a life on the go. So don't just settle. Make sure that you are spending this time to get to know who you are, what you're looking for, and what you need to do to get there. Stand up for what you believe in. Now more than ever, there's so many new opportunities opening up. There's remote work. There's companies that are advocating, especially for working moms and working parents and our military community. There is a lot going on and a lot of moving pieces. So now is the time to truly go after what will help you get through and follow your passion. Next. All right, so that was a lot of information packed into 30 minutes so far. So ready, set, go. What does that look like? How can we turn all of this amazing inspiration into reality, right? And I think, that's one thing that I've been very, very very strict on with sharing on my journey is the real, the ups and the downs. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I think that's so important because if there's one thing that we can do for each other, it is to help one another get where we want to go. And it's not always a glamorous journey. It's not always an overnight success. So what does that look like, and how do we take steps to getting there? If you are interested in starting your own business, I would say start with your business plan. I recently just discovered an awesome new tool. It's called Live Plan, and it's an amazing tool where you can create a business plan and projections, and it's so user friendly. So I wanted to share that with you if there's anyone here listening today that has been interested in entrepreneurship. Next, highlight your passions. And I know I keep repeating that, but trust me, it is so important. If you can find something that you love doing, you will never work another day in your life. And that is exactly what I believe in, what I always advocate for. And I think it is so, so important. Next, use search tools to help you filter through. Like I mentioned, the Mom Project has been one of my favorite companies since they launched years ago. And it was because there were so many great tools to help the person looking for a job really dial into what they are specifically looking for. So for example, with the Mom Project, if you're looking for a part-time job, if you're looking for a full-time job, there's so many different tools that you can dial in on, which is especially huge for our military spouse community looking for a job. And then next, lay down the foundation you want. Remember, it is time to build everything that you've ever wanted in your career, whether it's your business, a new career, starting a career, growing in your career, wherever stage you're at, make sure you have the foundation poured. That was something that was so important to me with Spousely. I have been a bootstrapping solopreneur for 2 years now. Trust me, it is very, very challenging as well as rewarding. But guess what? I got to lay the foundation down of the company that I wanted to build to continue making a greater impact. So you have to be the one that takes control of everything that you would like to work out in your career. Next. All right. So if there is a will, there is a way. And I want to leave you with that because it's so, so, so important. And I've shared a few of my fellow military spouse friends as well as vendors on Spousely. We did this campaign with our partner USAA for Military Spouse Appreciation Day. And it was all centered around more than a military spouse. And when we say that, it is so important for not only ourselves, but for companies and for organizations and everyone else out there to see and to hear that a title does not limit us. It does not define us. It is just something that is a part of our story. And we're going to be able to use that to continue growing into the person and into the opportunities that we want to be and that we want to see. So that kind of brings everything to a wrap. I know I don't want to talk too long. I know how it is when you are listening to someone speak and all that. So I wanted it to be as engaging as possible. So let's go to the next slide. I have my contact information. If you want to reach out to me, feel free, reach out whenever. I always love supporting people on their journey, doing anything that I can do. As you can see, this is a feature that we had in the media, which was, I personally love this, the title of it, Spousely, How Monica Fullerton of Spousely Tackles the Extreme Work-Life Balance of Being a Woman Business Leader during the Pandemic. I launched Spousely right before the pandemic. And I just want to say, I want to leave everybody with this snippet. If I can do it, you can do it too. And that is the mentality that we need to continue supporting and providing one another to help us get where we want to go. And that's all. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Hey, Becky.
Hey. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. I mean, I'm taking notes and there really were some incredible takeaways for me. I'm not a military spouse, but I can relate on so many levels. And really the big one that I underlined is be a better advocate for me and really figuring out, what that dream job looks like. So now we are going to move to the question portion of today. I know we've got a couple that have come through on the chat, but make sure if there's something that you're wondering about, we have the expert here. Please leave a comment, ask that question. We have a few minutes here to continue our chat. So let's go ahead and get the first question. So
Yes.
Barb, hi Barb. Barb says that I've never worked harder than during my gap. How can I convey that on a resume?
Yes, I think that is a great question. And I love hearing that because I think, that's something that just doesn't show up in our resume, right? Like you're feeling all of this inspiration. Maybe you've pivoted, maybe you've adapted new skills that you never knew you had. So, how can we put that into a resume and on paper? I think honestly, the best way to do that is to really highlight just gap in your resume. I would just write it out. I mean, I'm a little bit of a rule breaker and I don't really like going traditional routes. I would straight up just write, gap from this date to this date. And I would bullet point out maybe what that gap consisted of. And then I would follow that gap, like follow out the bullet points with what you learned and what your takeaways were and what you're looking for moving forward out of the gap. So I don't know what the actual right answer is and what somebody who does do resumes would say. They would probably say, Monica, that is not a good answer. But I truly believe, like I said, if you can advocate for yourself, if you can rewrite, your own rules and do what you believe is right, that is going to continue to shine way further than just putting yourself in this, box thinking, how am I going to stand out? And like I said, a video is always really great and that'll allow you to easily talk about it more. So you can even just link the video on your resume for them to click if you're sending an electronic resume and talk about it. Maybe spend like 2 to 3 minutes really highlighting your gap and how you embraced it.
Awesome. Thank you, Barb, for that question. Looks like we have another one. How do you move out of the imposter phase and not feeling like you aren't good enough? Oh, we've all been there. That's an excellent question.
Yes, we have all been there. Gosh, I think I struggle with that probably on a weekly basis, especially as a solopreneur and, on this crazy journey. But I think where my turning point on this was, and I think it can relate to everyone, is you have to know who you are, what you bring to the table, and you have to shine the light on that. I remember when I first launched Spousely, my publicist said, Monica, you have to be on the front lines more. You need to be sharing your story, talking about who you are as a person. And I remember thinking, well, why do people care who Monica Fullerton is? I'm just trying to build this business so I can help others and, make it turn into something neat and amazing. And I just remember that light bulb going off because once I did start embracing who I was and what I had to offer, that imposter syndrome really kind of it was like a curtain almost just kind of, went down. I just was able to shine in more ways. And a lot of it is because I know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. I am just very confident now in the fact that, you can relate and help other people by doing that. So hopefully that helped answer.
Yeah, again, thank you so much for the question. So as they keep coming in the chat, there were a few that I had. So my question is, you talk about the importance of having a mentor. And that can be really hard to find as you go through transitions in life and as you're moving around, within the military community and outside of the military community. How do you go about even identifying who would be a great mentor?
Yeah, finding a mentor can seem like a hard process, but in reality, it's so much easier than you think, especially if maybe it's someone who is a friend, or maybe it's a family friend, or maybe it's a professional that you've been connected with. It just depends on what you're looking to get out of it. Me personally, I have always surrounded myself with entrepreneurs just because I was always so inspired by how they took this idea and turned it into something that was a full-blown business and something that was, greater and bigger than themselves. So I think where to start and how to find a mentor is don't overthink it. Maybe it's somebody that's actually someone that is right in front of you half the time. So for me, my first mentor, I remember it was a friend's mom. She owned a breast cancer boutique, and she started this boutique because her best friend went through these struggles, and she just created this beautiful business out of it. And I just asked her, I said, hey, can we just chat on like a monthly basis? I would love to just learn from you. And sure enough, it was a friend's mom. So mentors come in all different shapes and sizes. And then there was a resource I shared, ACP. If you are a military spouse or a military family, they actually will help place you with a mentor at no charge. It's all supported by their organization, and they are some amazing mentors. I'm talking like all executives from big companies or whatever industry you're in.
Oh, that is so awesome. And a reminder, everyone will get this presentation after we're done. So you can go back and find out those resources and see what's there for you. Okay, we've got another question. How do you recommend communicating your need to work remotely or with flexibility as a military spouse?
Yes. So for so long, this was something that was so hard. And I fell into this trap as well. Being a military spouse, I always talk about it. It's rewarding and challenging. But one of the biggest struggles is, how do I go into an interview and say I'm a military spouse? Do I even say it at all? Because it always meant that there was going to maybe be an opportunity that maybe they wouldn't want to hire us because they know that we can't provide them with that stability they might be looking for. So I would say the best way to communicate it is to embrace it. Go back to everything, that we had talked about in this presentation, and really bring to the table what you have to offer. Turn the tables around. Instead of making it seem like you need this job, which you probably do, and we all do, we're all in that boat at times. But just remember, there's a lot of companies out there now that are specifically focused on hiring and placing military spouses in jobs that they deserve. So I would say the best way to go about communicating it is to communicate it, because you need to embrace it. If you have a company tell you, ooh, well, and I've heard these stories before, which is not glamorous, and it's very, very hard. But I have heard the stories of people, saying I'm a military spouse, and then they get asked, well, how long are you going to be in this area? That's probably not the company that's for you. If it's already a red flag from the start and you're already feeling like you're kind of having to tread backwards, I would highly suggest going with the higher route of, you're going to find something more amazing that embraces your flexibility that is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Owning it and celebrating your journey.
Yes.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
All right. Another
That's a great
question. Okay.
question.
So somebody asked, can you go into more detail about being around individuals with the same mindset?
Yes. So I remember, let's see, in my corporate career, that was a little bit more challenging, only because you kind of, your job, your role, you're around the people that you work with and everything like that. So it's almost like it's already kind of built in. But then with entrepreneurship, it can be very hard. You're almost like, wait a second, I'm kind of like throwing myself into this big ocean. Like, how am I going to find friends and supporters and people that maybe either have the same mindset or can be supporters of mine? And I will say, be a part of organizations or groups and connect with those people. So for example, I shared about Bunker Labs. Bunker Labs is a nonprofit that is dedicated to supporting military entrepreneurship. So that's a great group. If you're a part of the military connected family and you are thinking about starting a business, or you have a business, that is a great way to surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And, if you're not a part of the military, there's so many other great resources. There's Entreprenista, there's organizations, the Mom Project. You guys always do so many awesome things. Just make sure you're spending time finding what room to be in, basically.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I know locally too, don't forget about what's in your neighborhood. If there are professional organizations, that's the one thing that I've really turned to is, what's around me that I didn't even know existed.
That is so funny that you say that, because I remember when I first launched Spousely, since I've always been in this remote, virtual, on an island environment, I feel like I forgot that I'm sitting right here in Vegas where there's so many opportunities and so many people that it is true. Sometimes we almost forget right in our own backyard what might be going on, maybe an organization or a group that we can be a part of.
Absolutely. Okay. What recommendations do you have to filter through job listings targeting companies and roles that give you personal life flexibility of being the default parent with your spouse's demanding travel schedule?
Yes, that is a great question. And Becky, you might be able to speak on this a little bit better too with the mom project side of things and what that looks like. But I will say, I know with the mom project and the hub and everything, you are able to filter through like part-time, full-time hours. You can really like, get specific. So maybe you want to go in there, you're like, I'm looking for part-time, only 18 to 20 hours a week. Like the mom project allows you to do that, which is why I'm always advocating for the mom project, especially in our military spouse community, because that is something that is so, so important to really dial in. And then those opportunities are just coming up. And I don't know if you want to maybe piggyback off of that and share some more.
Yeah, something that I really personally try to look for is also companies that share the same values as me. If there's
Yes.
a company that they really do tout that they understand mom life and life flexibility, and that they are outwardly sharing that, that's maybe a company that you want to pay attention to and see if there is a role or something that fits. But really making sure that yes, that you're going to be a good fit for them as a company, but you also want to make sure that that company is a good fit for you and where your values do match up.
Yes, and I want to also add to that as well. And this obviously just depends on what your situation is. Maybe you're just looking to make some extra money or you're needing the full-time job, whatever it might be. Also look into, younger companies, startups as well, because then you're able to bring to the table not only all these amazing different skill sets that you can use in a different kind of setting, you're also able to have more of that one-on-one. I know espousely, like I said, we're still, growing and bootstrapping and all of that. But some of the help that I have is a lot of it's military spouses. And that's super important to me because I know that they can provide the work that is needed, as well as I'm providing them with the flexibility, especially with a spouse that has a demanding travel schedule.
Awesome. And Jennifer did just throw something into the comment. The Mom Project does have so much more on the study, and she left the link there. So make sure you check it out. There are a ton of articles
Wonderful.
with tips and things that can help you through your career search. Okay, next question. So I would love to form and lead a local entrepreneur support group for wives at this base at the local or in the local area, as well as grow and learn myself. Which pause, that is phenomenal and so fantastic. And
Yes.
so the question is, do you have a suggestion of a course or tool or book that we could follow along with to keep us on track and keep us intentional in our meetings?
Yes, that is an amazing question. And I had highlighted on this as a resource, but there are some awesome companies that are having cohorts in different locations, and some of them are on different bases. And it's basically rallying around supporting other entrepreneurs. I'm actually a part of, we do one for Bunker Labs, and it's bringing together on a weekly basis these entrepreneurs to support. So check into AMSE, AMSE, Association of Military Spouse Entrepreneurs. I'm assuming, yeah, you're a military spouse if it's on base. And they have different cohorts already set up with different activities and, structure that you can follow and bring into your area. So that might be a good resource, but feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to connect you with what base you're at and what that might look like. I was just a speaker at a base in Florida, the Family Readiness Center. And it was so important because a lot of times they're not talking about small businesses and entrepreneurship, and those resources aren't as available as they should be on base. So that is something I'm working really hard to continue doing as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Those are excellent resources. Let's see. All right, another long one. I've been having this great idea in my head to inspire young girls through clothing out of frustration, looking for something for my daughter that is now 4. Would a great first step be the business plan, or do I lock in an LLC name and get that going from there? What first practical step should be taken? I've been back and forth for over a year on where to start.
I love this question. And this is something I speak about all the time. And I think, the one biggest thing that will always continue to hold us back is ourselves because we overthink things too much. I always say if you're thinking of pursuing entrepreneurship, just get started. So the first step, in my opinion, would be to put it down in a business plan, write it out. It doesn't have to be anything super formal to start. Just really jot down everything that you have in your head, how it's all going to function, how are you going to make money? How is it going to continue to grow? Things like that, which will allow you to then see after you've spent the time really dialing in on what it all looks like, what that looks like, and then go to the market a little bit, whether it's friends and family, and start asking questions. So what I did with Spousely, I was in the car on the way to dinner with a few fellow military spouses, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, there's so much talent in this car alone. You're a photographer, you make coffee, you're a private investigator, like just so much talent from my fellow military spouses. And I was like, I'm going to start a platform that brings us all together. And literally just like that, I had the idea. And what basically happened was I went back, I wrote everything down. I made like a PowerPoint of how I wanted the site to look in all of these different areas. It wasn't anything too fancy. And then I created a Facebook group where I just added in a ton of people who might be interested in learning about it, who are supporters, anything. And I asked them, I said, hey, I have this idea. Do you think it's something that you would be interested in? Do you think it's something that could grow? So maybe putting your idea out there a little bit more, ask friends, ask family, ask coworkers, whoever, and get that validation before you go down the path of getting the LLC and all of that.
That's awesome advice. And business plans can change, right? They can evolve over time. And once you get those answers, you're able to kind of evolve the plan and move forward. So
yes, pivoting, we were talking about it.
That's
You
right.
are, as a business owner or someone thinking about starting a business, you are going to pivot. I will guarantee that. I probably, out of all the successful entrepreneurs that I know, every one of them has said their greatest success actually came from one of their failures along the way of entrepreneurship. So just remember, you're going to pivot, and don't hold yourself back because there's no such thing as perfection on this journey.
I have to say, that just like gave me goosebumps. I totally agree. And
Yes.
I just want to thank you so much for taking some time and sharing this with us. And I want to thank the community that's watching and chatting and asking questions. I am so grateful that you were able to join us today. And, so this does conclude today's session. So thank you again to Monica. If we can get some clap emojis, some chats going, just to share our thanks and appreciation. We hope that you all learned something that you can apply either right now today or something that you can take with you down the road.
Or maybe some good old empowerment on you can do this.
That's right. And be your advocate. I love that's highlighted in my book. Be your advocate. And then a reminder, a recording of this session will be made available to all attendees. And just thank y'all for coming. We'll see you at the next one. I hope you all have a fabulous Friday and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks.